Is preparing to live stream. Does anybody see the announcement on their screen?
Yes,
Yeah, right now
Oh,
it
okay.
just came up.
Okay.
yes.
All right. So we're going to be continuing today with Canto 2, which I assume we're going to read all the way through in English. And then we're going to basically see if there's any questions on what we did last time. And then we're going to jump in to where we ended our conversation last Wednesday. Do I have that right, Dee Dee?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So let me do that. All right. Okay. So I didn't make a reading list. My goodness. I've become dependent upon Ann Doyle. So let me do this. Okay, I'll go Duncan, Dee Dee, John, oh, hold on, and Meisner and Harriet. I assume you are not reading.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, just want to confirm. All right, off we go. Canto 2. Day was departing, and the embrowned air released the animals that are on earth from their fatigues. And I, the only one, made myself ready to sustain the war, both of the way and likewise of the woe, which memory that errs shall not retrace. O Muses, O high genius, now assist me. O memory that didst write down what I saw, here thy nobility shall be manifest. And I began. Poet, guidest me regarding my manhood, if it be sufficient, ere to the arduous pass thou dost confide me. Thou sayest that of Silvius the parent, while yet corruptible, into the world immortal went, and was there bodily. But if the adversary of all evil was courteous, thinking of the high effect that issue would from him, and who and what, to men of intellect unmet it seems not, for he was of great Rome, and of her empire in the imperial heaven as the father chosen, the which and what, wishing to speak the truth, was stablished as the holy place, wherein sits the successor of the greatest Peter. Next, please.
Upon this journey, whence thou givest him vaunt, things he did here, which on occasion were both of his victory and the papal mantle. Thither went afterwards the chosen vessel to bring that comfort thence unto that faith which of salvation's way is the beginning. But I, why thither come, or who concedes it? I not Aeneas am, I am not Paul, nor I nor others think me worthy of it. Therefore, if I resign myself to come, I fear the coming may be ill advised. Thou art wise and knowest better than I speak. Next.
And as he is, who unwills what he willed, and by new thoughts doth his intention change, so that from his design he quite withdraws, such I became upon that dark hillside, because in thinking I consumed the emprise, which was so very prompt in the beginning. If I have well thy language understood, replied that shade of the magnanimous, thy soul attainted is with cowardice, which many times a man encumbers so, it turns him back from honored enterprise, as false sight doth a beast when he is shy. That thou mayst free thee from this apprehension. I'll tell thee why I came and what I heard at the first moment when I grieved for thee. Among those Among those was I who are in suspense, and a fair saintly lady called to me. In such wise I besought her to command me. Next, please.
Her eyes outshone the firmament by far as she began in her own gracious tongue, gentle and low as tongues of angels are. O courteous Mantuan soul, whose skill in song keeps green on earth a fame that shall not end, while motion rolls the turning spheres along. A friend of mine, who is not fortune's friend, is hard beset upon the shadowy coast. Terrors and snares his fearful steps attend, driving him back, yea, and I fear almost I have risen too late to help, for I was told such news of him in heaven, he's too far lost. Next.
Bestir thee now, and with thy speech ornate, and with what needful is for his release, assist him so, that I may be consoled. Beatrice am I, who do bid thee go. I come from there, where I would fain return. Love moved me, which compelled me to speak. When I shall be in the presence of my Lord, full often will I praise thee unto him. Then paused she, and thereafter I began. O Lady of Virtue, thou alone, through whom the human race exceedeth all contained within the heaven that has lesser circles. So grateful unto me is thy commandment to obey. If 'twere already done, were late. No further needest thou opt to me thy wish. But the cause, tell me, why thou dost not shun the here descending down into the center from the vast place thou burnest to return to. Since thou wouldest fain so inwardly discern, briefly will I relate. She answered me, why I'm not afraid to enter here. Of those things only should one be afraid, which have the power of doing others harm. Of the rest, no, because they're not fearful. Next, please.
God in his mercy such created me that misery of yours attains me not, nor any flame assails me of this burning. A gentle lady is in heaven who grieves at this impediment to which I send thee, so that stern judgment there above is broken. In her entreaty, she besought Lucia and said, thy faithful one now stands in need of thee, and unto thee I recommend him. Lucia, foe of all that cruel is, hastened away and came unto the place where I was sitting with the ancient Rachel. Beatrice, said she, the true praise of God, why succorest thou not him who loved thee so? For thee he issued from the vulgar herd. Dost thou now hear the pity of his plaint? Dost thou not see the death that combats him beside that flood, where ocean has no vaunt? Never were persons in the world so swift to work their weal and to escape their woe as I, after such words were uttered, came hither downward from my blessed seat, confiding in thy dignified discourse, which honors thee and those who've listened to it. Next.
After she thus had spoken unto me, weeping her shining eyes, she turned away, whereby she made me swifter in my coming. And unto thee I came as she desired. I have delivered thee from that wild beast, which barred the beautiful mountain's short ascent. What is it then? Why dost thou delay? Why is such baseness bedded in thy heart? Daring and hardihood, why hast thou not? Seeing that three such ladies benedict and caring for thee in the court of heaven, and so much good my speech doth promise thee. Next, please.
Is it mine? What line are you at? I reading from
127.
Okay, I'm
Oh.
reading from Sayers and I got lost there. Okay, 127.
127.
Yeah, thanks. As little flowers, which all the frosty night hung pinched and drooping, lift their stalks and fan their blossoms out, touched by the warm white light. So did my fainting powers, and therewith ran such good, strong courage round about my heart that I spoke boldly out like a free man. Oh, blessed she that stooped to take my part. Oh, courteous thou to obey her true, discerning speech, and thus promptly to my rescue start. Fired by thy words, my spirit now is burning. So to go on and see this venture through, I find my former stout resolve returning. Forward, henceforth, there's but one will for two, thou master, and thou leader, and thou Lord. I spoke. He moved so, setting out anew. I entered on that savage path and forward. The end.
Mm.
Yeah, the last word is Froward in Sayers.
Forward.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
The last two lines in Longfellow is, thus said I to him, and when he had moved, I entered on the deep and savage way.
I like that.
Yeah, it seems.
That's very good.
Okay. Dee Dee, I believe we were about halfway through
Yeah.
our
Were we
analysis.
satisfied with the beginning conversation?
I am. I don't know about the others, but I'm pretty satisfied.
Somewhere along there, I got a little confused as to who the speaker was.
Okay. You want to take a little review of it now and see if you can find that?
Yeah, at the beginning, he was talking, Virgil was answering him.
Mm-hmm.
The shade of the magnanimous on 44, I guess.
Okay, if I have well thy language understood, replied the shade of the magnanimous, thou soul attained is with cowardice.
So
Attainted.
you think that's
That's
Virgil?
Virgil. Yeah, that is definitely Virgil.
Okay.
Not a doubt in my mind. And he's kind of teasing Dante. Frankly, I think Dante's question is a really appropriate question. You know, who, me? Why
I
me?
know,
Why me?
right? Wondering why this is being done for him. And then the next is 58. Her eyes were shining.
Let's see,
And this is
55,
Beatrice, I
55.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
There's Beatrice.
Is that Beatrice?
Yeah, yeah. There's only
Oh,
one of the three ladies who came down to where Virgil
okay, it's
and
somewhere
Dante.
along there. Good, okay.
Yeah.
Beatrice am I, okay. And then I began O Lady of Virtue, so that's Dante. That's down at 76, I think.
O Lady of Virtue, thou alone with whom the human race so great. No, this is Virgil.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
this
This
is
is where I
Virgil.
guess I began to get confused. But oh, he's reporting the conversation between him and Beatrice.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So Beatrice is long gone. She's back in the Imperium. She just came down to get Virgil to go, look for Dante and rescue him.
Well, but she answers him a little further. She's not gone yet, right? Since thou would fain 80. Oh, this is where we left off. 85. Since
85.
thou would fain, briefly will I relate, she answered me, why I am not afraid to enter here. I think that's Beatrice.
It's still Beatrice. Okay. Beatrice is the only speaking, there's only three speaking people in this.
And Lucia isn't speaking.
Lucia did not come down.
Oh, okay.
At all.
Somehow, okay, as we went ahead there, I thought it might have been Lucia speaking. Okay, so I'm ready to move on. Thank you.
Okay. And so that raises the question for me of, maybe someone can answer, who's Lucia?
Yeah,
she was an intermediary here between Beatrice needed Lucia's help. She besought Lucia, that's in 96, I think, 97. In her entreaty, she besought Lucia.
Right, but that's Mary. That's Mary who besought.
Oh, it's okay. Beatrice is saying that Mary besought Lucia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then Sayers writes that Lucia is a virgin martyr of the 3rd century, and she's the patron saint of those with weak sight, and chosen here as the image of illuminating grace. Mary, Beatrice, and Lucia are threefold images of divine grace in its various manifestations.
Aha.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next, and said, thy faithful one now stands in need. So Lucia is reporting, Dante is reporting that, or Beatrice is reporting that Lucia said to Mary, thy faithful one now stands in need of thee. Is that right?
Would you give me a line number, please?
It's 97. And said, thy faithful one. I think Lucia is talking to Mary.
Yeah, I think so too, but it's a very interesting thing. I mean, someone described Lucia just fine, but why would they refer to, why when talking with Lucia would they describe Dante as thy faithful one now stands in need of thee?
So she would be talking to Beatrice.
I don't think so.
And unto thee oh no, thy faithful one may be Virgil.
No. I don't think so. Because we got in 94, a gentle lady is in heaven who grieves at this impediment to which I send thee. So that is referring to, that's interesting.
I think Mary talks to Lucia, and then Lucia talks to Beatrice. They kind of maintain a hierarchy there. Right? Mary doesn't go directly to Beatrice.
Right. And that all makes perfect sense until we get to line 98.
Yeah.
In her entreaty, which I assume is still Mary, she besought Lucia and said, so this is Mary talking, thy faithful one now stands in need of thee, and unto thee I recommend him. So I find it curious that they're saying thy faithful one, meaning Dante is the faithful one to Lucia. So that sentence throws me off. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm thrown off too.
Which is fine. I mean, we can just say, well, that's a curious thing. I wonder what that means.
So Beatrice besought Lucia, and I think Beatrice is talking to Lucia.
I disagree with you, Dee Dee. Forgive me.
We thought Mary was.
I think Mary is the one. For some reason, Mary, because a gentle lady is in heaven who grieves at this impediment, to which I send thee, so that stern judgment there above is broken. In her entreaty she besought Lucia and said, Thy faithful one now stands in need of thee, and unto thee I recommend him.
So Mary is talking to Lucia.
That's what I think, but
Yeah.
it's not completely clear to me, frankly, because I'm still trying to figure out why they would refer to Dante as Lucia's faithful one, because he's obviously not a faithful one.
Hey, maybe Anne, maybe the Sayers can give us some wisdom here.
I'm looking for it, Dee Dee.
I don't mean notes, just reading her translation there.
Okay, I'll read from 94 on.
How about I start that whole thing. Beatrice is talking to Dante. It's 80 3, 84, 85, 86, 87. I think it's 83. It's the verse
Okay.
that starts around 83. Could you read that whole
Okay.
thing
Yeah,
down
I will.
unto thee I recommend him?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to listen hard. Maybe you could even read slowly because I really am confused.
Okay. Yet say, how can thy blessed feet bear to know this dark road downward to the dreadful center from that wide room which thou dost yearn for so? Few words will serve if thou desire to enter thus far into our mystery, she said, to tell thee why I have no fear to venture. Of hurtful things we ought to be afraid, but of no others. Truly, inasmuch as those have nothing to give cause for dread, my nature, by God's mercy, is made such as your calamities can no wise shake, nor these dark fires have any power to touch.
Now,
Heaven
this
hath,
is Beatrice talking about herself.
yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
heaven,
Were
heaven,
those the lines you wanted, Dee Dee? Were those
That's
the
on
lines?
90.
Yeah, I thought we were back on.
Okay, so I'm ready to keep going. Are you ready to keep going, Duncan?
Well, I want to read this note from Robert Hollander about Lucia, which he calls Lucy. Lucy, the martyred Syracusan virgin, 4th century, obviously played a special role in Dante's devotional life. She will appear in Purgatory 9, lines 52 through 63, where she indeed carries Dante from the valley in which he sleeps in the anti-purgatory to the gates of purgatory itself. And then she will be seen seated in blessedness. Okay, so that's the relationship between Lucia and Dante.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, so could you
So-
keep going? It's okay if Anne keeps going?
Sure.
Okay, could you keep going in?
yeah,
Slower, even if you can manage it.
okay. Heaven hath a noble lady who doth take ruth of this man thou goest to disensnare. Let me start again. Heaven hath a noble lady.
What start with God at 91. Could you start there?
Okay. My nature, by God's mercy, is made such as your calamities can no wise shake, nor these dark fires have any power to touch. Heaven hath a noble lady, who doth take ruth of this man thou goest to ensnare, such that high doom is cancelled for her sake. She summoned Lucy to her side.
She's wait a minute. So she's talking about Mary there, or Lucia, do you think, or Lucy?
Mary.
Oh, she's talking about Mary, because the next line it tells you that. Okay, you can keep going unless somebody else wants to stop you.
Yeah, I'm going to once again disagree. I'm going to say in this particular case, this is a response to Virgil's question to Beatrice, how come you're here?
Yeah, but in the next line it says, in her entreaty, she besought Lucia. That's 95 or 96 or 7. You see that?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so actually lines 100 through 102 clear it up for me.
Yeah. So it is, so Beatrice is talking about Mary,
Mary
grieves
Lucia.
at this impediment, and she besought Lucia. Is that correct now?
Mary besought Lucia, and then Lucia came to Beatrice, who was sitting next to Rachel.
Okay. So, Anne, could you keep going? About 98, or in ours it says, in her entreaty she besought Lucia, and that would be Mary seeking help from Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
She summoned Lucy to her side, and there exhorted her, thy faithful votary needs thee, and I commend him to thy care. Lucy, the foe to every cruelty, ran quickly and came and found me in my place beside ancestral Rachel, crying to me, how now, Beatrice, God's true praise. No help for him who once thy liegeman was, quitting the common herd to win thy grace? Dost thou not hear his piteous cries, alas? Dost thou not see death grapple him on the river, whose furious rage no ocean can surpass? When I heard that,
Now, wait, before you keep going there. So, why succorest thou not him who loved thee so? Would this be Christ?
No. Why succorest thou not him? Him in this case is Dante.
For thee issued from the vulgar herd.
Right. It was Dante's love for Beatrice that made him a first-class poet.
Right.
So that's my interpretation of how he issued from the vulgar herd.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me now. Okay. You know what? I'm not lost anymore.
Why is Rachel brought up at this point?
She's just because she was sitting next to Beatrice.
Okay.
Up in heaven. Yeah. At the peak next to Mary.
Okay, so but here's another Robert Hollander note, which I'm taking from the DanteLab.ed. Rachel, the third of the ladies in heaven who share Beatrice's concerns for Dante's salvation, is traditionally interpreted as she is by Dante himself, see Purgatorio, blah, 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 as the contemplative life, as her sister Leah represents the active one. Since the 14th century, there have been frequent and widely varying attempts to allegorize the Virgin, Lucy and Beatrice, most often as various varieties of grace. So that's why apparently Rachel is mentioned, even though at this point she doesn't really play an active role. She just happens to be sitting next to Beatrice.
Serendipity.
Mm-hmm.
Or a
But
hierarchy.
go back to the Old Testament story of Rachel and Leah and Sarah, isn't it?
Rachel, Leah.
Jacob,
Rachel and Leah
Yeah.
in the Bible.
The one is married and they have no children, isn't it?
Jacob marries her sister
Oh,
Leah
yeah.
first,
Mhm.
and then Rachel.
And
Jacob he marries Leah first.
he
Yeah.
loved Rachel, but the father wouldn't
The father tricked him.
yeah.
Oh.
The older daughter had to be married first. So the rule then Dante, Jacob obeyed it and married
Oh.
Leah, and then I don't know, sometime later was allowed to marry Rachel.
Right, right. That's what he agreed to be the herdsman for their father, because
Because he loved Rachel.
because he loved Rachel and wanted to marry her. But after he had done his indentured servant thing, and went to the father, I can't remember the father's name now.
I can't either.
But anyway, then the father said, "Oh, you can't marry Rachel. I have to get Leah married off first." Oh, Laban. The father's name is Laban. So that was a kind of trickster thing. You know, those early books of the Bible are so full of tricks and cons.
Oh yeah,
It's astounding.
yeah. It's not a heavenly story. The Bible.
No, it's not. I was actually very shocked when I was reading this with the young man I know. Okay, and for what it's worth, Leah means cow, and Rachel
Cow.
means cow. Mm-hmm. And Rachel means
COW.
COW, moo, moo cow. And Rachel means ewe, as in female sheep.
Hmm. I wonder what that's all about. I
I don't know.
don't know.
Many mysteries.
But doesn't Jacob turn turn Leah out of the house in order to have the marriage with Rachel? Is that
No,
I don't
or is
think
that
so.
another
no.
story?
That
He
That's
was
ends up
another story.
Abraham.
Okay.
That
He
was
ends-
Abraham.
All right.
Yeah, and actually Jacob ends up with more than two wives,
Okay.
as I remember it. But
All right.
Yeah, there weren't any
the
sons.
primary
Yeah.
wives were Leah and Rachel.
Yeah, and there were no sons, so he married, I think, a servant, if I remember.
Yes, yes,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
let's see.
Okay,
Well,
so
I'm relieved. I'm sorry, but I was all kind of tangled with who was speaking.
yeah, well, that's why we're here. We're here to figure these things out.
Okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, we are up to line 106, which is basically just Lucia trying to convince Beatrice to go rescue Dante.
Right. Who's next? Duncan.
Okay. So, dost thou not hear the pity of his plaint? Dost thou not see the death that combats him beside that flood where the ocean has no vaunt? Okay, that's an interesting thing right there.
I think vaunt means exit.
Okay, well, fortunately, this is described by Hollander as one of the most difficult passages in the entire work. Whether for its literal sense, what death, what river, what sea. So I'm satisfied with just knowing it's difficult. There were persons in the world so swift to work their weal and to escape their woe as I, after such words as these were uttered. So this is once again, this is Beatrice speaking. And she's still speaking in 102. Came hither downward from my blessed seat, confiding in thy dignified discourse, which honors thee and those who listen to it.
I
Not,
think this is Lucia still talking. Beatrice said she, and then the quote continues to line 108, I think.
Well, look at 108, and that is enclosed in a quotation mark.
Right. Beatrice said she. Beatrice is relating to Dante what
Yes, yes,
Lucia had
yes.
told her. So
Yes, all of this is in response to Virgil's question. Or,
so she's quoting what Lucia said to her.
mhm,
Okay,
yep,
good. I got it.
okay. So Lucia says, "Hey, why don't you go rescue your buddy?" And Beatrice says, "I came down immediately." Um, e- and, and then we have 115. After she thus had spoken unto me,
So I
weeping.
guess now Dante will be speaking.
No, I think it's Virgil.
This is Virgil.
This is Virgil speaking now.
Okay.
Yeah, starting with starting at the beginning of line 115.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I'm up above. Never were persons in the world so swift to work their wheel and to escape their woe as I. After that's Dante,
No,
or that may be Beatrice.
it's Beatrice.
After that's Beatrice.
That is definitely Beatrice.
Okay, so that down to the end of the quote, which is 114, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's Beatrice.
Yeah,
Okay.
came thither downward from my blessed seat, and fight.
Okay, so she quotes Lucia and then she continues to talk to Dante.
No, 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 no.
No,
Beatrice is not talking to Dante at all. This
she's
is
talking to Virgil.
she's talking to Virgil. Virgil is answering the question. Remember, Dante's saying, "Why me?" You know, I only know of two people that have gone to hell. And, one was Aeneas, and the other has gone to some part of heaven and hell. One was Aeneas, and the other was St. Paul. So I don't think I'm qualified to go to hell in my bodily form. And then Virgil has given him this long, extended answer of why him.
Oh, and you know what? All this time I was thinking Dante was saying, "Why me?"
He is saying,
But you said Beatrice is talking to Virgil.
yes, yes. So in answer to Dante's question, which happens way back where, Virgil's saying, hey, the reason for this is because, you know, Mary talked to Lucia, Lucia talked to Beatrice, Beatrice came down to talk to me. And now I'm going to, and that's the reason why you're qualified to follow me into the Inferno and the other layers of the other world. Does that make sense?
I think so. When we continue, though, it is like Dante is talking.
Mm, I think I think when you're by yourself later today or during the week, just go through this very carefully. And I
Well,
think
there's a quote at the end of 115. After she thus had spoken unto me, and unto thee I came. Okay, I get it now. It's Virgil. Thank you. I see it. Okay, finally.
okay, okay.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
And then on 118, Virgil is saying, now Virgil's talking, unto thee, Dante, I came,
Mhm.
as she desired. I have delivered thee from that wild beast which barred the beautiful mountain's short ascent. So that's Virgil
Sure.
and Dante. And now he's going to berate Dante, which I think, I think it's a little tongue in cheek, frankly. I mean, I think Dante is perfectly right to go, hey, Virgil, why me? I'm just Dante. What qualifies me to do this?
He's
But
kind of scolding.
he is scolding, but I think he's scolding him, and this he probably says more about me than Virgil. But he's scolding him in almost a teasing type way. I think Dante's question is a really good, the why me question. I think it's really good.
Actually, I think it's like a good teacher trying to make sure the whole story gets across to the student.
Mhm. Okay.
Like a
Um,
strategy.
mhm. Yeah, depending on who the student is.
Hmm.
Sometimes berating is a good idea.
But yeah, kind of going through the questions that the student has to look at
Mhm.
by asking, this, um, why dost thou delay? So much good my speech doth promise me thee. Uh, you need to think about this.
Mhm. All right. Someone else like to read now?
Well, let's see, it's my turn. Even as the flowerets by nocturnal chill bow down and close when the sun whitens them, uplift themselves all open on their stems. Such I became with my exhausted strength, and such good courage to my heart there coursed, that I began like an intrepid person. O she compassionate who succored me, and courteous thou, who hast obeyed so soon the words of truth which she addressed to thee, thou hast my heart so with desire disposed to the adventure which with these words of thine, that to my first intent I have returned. Now go, for one sole will is in us both, thou leader, and thou Lord and Master, thou. Thus I said to him, and when he had moved, I entered on the deep and savage way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel pretty satisfied with this canto now. Thank you all
Okay, good.
for clarifying.
I just want to read 124 through 126. So this is Virgil talking to Dante. Seeing that three such ladies, Mary, Lucia, Beatrice, seeing that three such ladies, Benedict, are caring for thee in the court of heaven, and so much good my speech does
Bless
promise
you.
me. Thank you. So this is the meat of the answer right here, which if I can put in street language, it's like, Dante, you got three of the top female spirits up in heaven rooting for you, man. Let's go. Okay. So let me just do one little thing. Because I want remember both of these, both Canto 1 and Canto 2 end in the same way.
That he decides to go.
That he's resolved that he's going to go. So let me go back. So in Canto 1, hold on. Let's see, translations, Inferno, Canto. Oh, it's not.
So in Canto 2, Virgil is the one who's doubting himself.
No, Virgil has no doubts at all.
Well, 31.
No, that's Dante.
Dante is talking there.
Right.
Okay.
But why? Why thither come, or who concedes it? I not Aeneas am, I am not Paul.
Right. And that began on 10. Yeah, I see it now.
Okay. So let me just go back to this other. How did one?
So he changed his mind twice.
Yeah. Yeah, right. The last on Canto 1, the very last sentence. Then he, Virgil, moved on, and I behind him followed. Okay.
Okay.
Are we satisfied with our work on Canto 2?
I am.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Then what I suggest we do is that we read Canto 3. And that's how we'll end today's session. Is a simple reading, a continuous reading of Canto 3.
And you know, the beginning of Canto 3, that quote, is the sign. It's a sign through the passage through which they're entering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're finally at the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess I start. Um, so through me the way is to the city Dolet. Through me the way is to eternal dole. Through me the way among the people lost. Justice incited my sublime creator, created me divine omnipotence, the highest wisdom and the primal love. Before me there were no created things, only eternity, and I eternal last. All hope abandon, ye who enter in. Next.
These words in somber color I beheld written upon the summit of a gate whence their senses, master, hard to me, and he to me as one experienced. Here all suspicion needs must be abandoned, all cowardice must needs be here extinct. We to the place have come where I have told thee thou shalt behold the people dolorous, who have forgone the good of intellect. Next.
And after he had laid his hand on mine, with joyful mien, whence I was comforted, he led me in among the secret things. Their sighs, complaints, and ululations loud resounded through the air without a star, whence I at the beginning wept thereat. Languages diverse, horrible dialects, accents of anger, words of agony, and voices high and hoarse, with sounds of hands, made up a tumult that goes whirling on, forever in that air, forever black, even as the sand doth when the whirlwind breathes. Next, please.
Made tumult through the timeless night that hither and thither drives in dizzying circles sped, as whirlwind whips the spinning sands together. Whereat, with horror flapping round my head, Master, what's this I hear? Who can they be? These people so distraught with grief, I said. And he replied, the dismal company of wretched spirits thus find their guerdon due, whose lives knew neither praise nor infamy. They're mingled with that caitiff angel crew, who against God rebelled not, nor to him were faithful, but to self alone were true. And heaven cast them forth, their presence there would dim the light. Deep hell rejects so base a herd, lest sin should boast itself because of them. Next.
Duncan, you're muted. Duncan, you are muted. Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry about that. And I, O master, what so grievous is to these, that makes them lament so sore? He answered, I'll tell you very briefly. These have no longer any hope of death, and this blind life of theirs is so debased they are envious are of every other fate. No fame of them the world permits to be. Misericord and justice both disdain them. Let us not speak of them, but look and pass. And I, who looked again, beheld a banner which, whirling round, ran on so rapidly that of all pause it seemed to me indignant. And after it there came so long a train of people that I ne'er would have believed that ever death so many had undone. Next.
When some among them I had recognized, I looked and I beheld the shade of him who made through cowardice the great refusal. Forthwith I comprehended and was certain that this the sect was of the caitiff wretches hateful to God and to his enemies. These miscreants who never were alive were naked and were stung exceedingly by gadflies and by hornets that were there. These did their faces irrigate with blood, which with their tears commingled at their feet by the disgusting worms was gathered up. And when to gazing further I betook me, people I saw on a great river bank, whence said I, Master, now vouchsafe to me that I may know who these are, and what law makes them appear so ready to pass over, as I discern athwart the dusky light. Next.
And he to me, these things shall all be known, to thee as soon as we our footsteps stay upon the dismal shores of Acheron. Then with mine eyes ashamed and downward cast, fearing my words might irksome be to him, from speech refrained I till we reached the river. And lo, towards us, coming in a boat, an old man hoary with the hair of eld, crying, woe unto you, ye souls depraved. Hope nevermore to look upon the heavens. I come to lead you to the other shore, to the eternal shades in heat and frost. And thou that yonder standest, living soul, withdraw thee from these people who are dead. But when he saw that I did not withdraw, he said, by other ways, by other ports, thou to the shore shalt come, not here for passage. A lighter vessel needs must carry thee. Next.
Then said my guide, Charon, why wilt thou roar and chafe in vain? Thus it is willed where power and will are one. Enough. Ask thou no more. This shut the shaggy mouth up of that sour, infernal ferryman of the livid wash. Only his flame-ringed eyeballs rolled a glower. But those outwearied, naked souls, how gashed and pale they grew, chattering their teeth for dread, where first they felt his hands, his harsh tongue, cruel lash. God they blaspheme their parents' bed, the human race, the place, the time, the blood, the seed that got them, and the womb that bred. Then huddling, hugger, mugger, down they scud, dismally wailing to the accursed strand, which waits for every man that fears not God. Next.
Charon the demon, with eyes of gleed, beckoned to them, collects them all together, beats with his oar whoever lags behind. As in the autumn time the leaves fall off, first one and then another, till the branch unto the earth surrenders all its spoils. In a similar wise, the evil seed of Adam throw themselves on that margin one by one, at signals as a bird unto its lure. Next.
So they depart across the dusky wave, and ere upon the other shore they land, and on this side a new troop assembles. My son, the courteous master, said to me, all those who perish in the wrath of God here meet together out of every land, and ready are they to pass o'er the river, because celestial justice spurs them on, so that their fear is turned into desire. Next.
Is John still there?
John, you are muted.
This way there never passes a good soul, and hence if Charon doth complain of thee, well mayst thou know now what his speech imports. This being finished, all the dusk champagne trembled so violently that of that terror the recollection bathes me still in sweat. The land of tears gave forth a blast of wind, and fulminated a vermilion light, which overmastered in me every sense. and as a man whom sleep hath seized, I fell.
Mm.
Duncan, you're on mute.
Duncan, you're muted again.
I just want to say one thing. I found the description of the
I'll see you next time.
I
Sorry.
found the description of the people who were neither sinners nor good to be fascinating. And my initial thing is actually there's more of them than any of the other types.
Yeah.
And yet he devotes almost nothing. There's very few lines.
Yeah, and he says he recognizes many of them, but he doesn't elaborate on it in other places. Like people who are actually have committed more serious sins, he recognizes them and wants to speak to them.
Mm-hmm.
And here it's indifferent. I mean, the one person he mentions, which according to the notes is probably one of the popes, but even that one he doesn't name. He
Mm.
doesn't. He does. He recognizes people here, but he doesn't bother to name them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just not
Yeah,
worth naming.
yeah.
They lived in such a way that they weren't worth naming. Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. I wonder how long I'll keep that in mind. That whether damned or saved or going to purgatory, it's probably a small group compared to the people that did not, they were just milk toast, neither good nor bad, just trying to tread the middle of, you know, it's pretty fascinating. Okay, good
I
work.
think I need to go. I have a friend here I haven't seen in a long time.
Okay, well, they arrived at the right time because we're ready.
Okay. Interesting topic, though. I feel we've just begun it.
Yep.